but you're going nowhere. Don't blame me for what you've done, because I know that you were having fun.
Welcome to the Clarified Realty Podcast, exposing the real estate secrets your agent doesn't want you to know. Here's your host, Tom Clary.
Well, don't you just walk away. That's when I'll say.
Welcome to the Clarified Realty Podcast. I'm Tom Clary. I'm your host. I'm a real estate agent here in the beautiful state of California, Los Angeles to be exact. I'm here with my co-host, Ron Bruno. How you today, sir?
I'm good, man.
Good.
Yes, sir.
We're in completely new digs here. We're actually in the soundproof studio that they have here at WeWork Burbank.
That's right. So this is looks like a recording studio. So
Yeah.
you know, if you're not looking around because this is a podcast, but
Yeah, look
basically,
over there.
Tom and I can see everything.
Yeah, I see it fine.
So there's guitars. There looks like there's a
So if
a
Ron wants to
synthesizer.
get up and jam in the middle of the
exactly,
podcast,
I won't be able to do so.
Ron's going to start his...
if there was a trumpet, I could play that.
His new age jazz fusion flute.
Yes, the jazz flout. Yeah, exactly. Flautist, yes.
Yes. Flautists sound good right now, actually. I'm a little hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, yeah, it's a really nice little room, and it doesn't sound like a big cavern like we had before.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and this is a little different. You know, we're just kicking back on the couch.
Kicking
We've got
back,
some
having a
beers.
beer. You know,
Yeah.
I'm getting into my second beer here, and
There you go.
WeWork has beer on tap here, so
Free
beer.
Dudes. Beer. I mean,
free beer.
That was it.
Yeah.
I was sold.
I have a tonight is Harry Potter night at the elementary school. So
Really?
I'm gonna get myself all liquored up and hand out concessions to kids. You know.
So I have a funny Harry Potter story.
Oh God.
So Karen and I, you know, what's great about being an entrepreneur is that, you know, you can kind of sneak out during the middle of the day and go play
Do
as an
things.
adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Karen and I, on Tuesday was the last day we could use our universal pass. Right.
Oh, right.
So we got
yeah,
the
yeah.
annual pass.
We talked about that on the last episode.
I did.
Yeah.
So we went and had an amazing time.
Good.
And, you know, it's funny. So Karen and I, you know, we had LG phones and, you know, they just kept dying on us, even
Yeah.
though they're the high-end phones. So, you know, Karen was able to get this deal and we got these new Samsung phones, which is really cool. It's the 8 Plus or 6 Plus or something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's really funny because we're standing in line, and this was the first. So, you know, we go on all the rides. We're
Right.
ride junkies, and I take it you've been recently, right? To
No,
Harry Potter?
actually, you know, I have not been
Ever?
No, hold on a sec. Well, I was there when I was a tour guide at Universal.
No, but I
Studios.
mean with Harry Potter.
I have not been back since I was a tour guide. No. And this was, you know, God, I want to say I was like 20 at the time, so like 25 years ago.
Oh man.
Oh God, no.
Like you've never seen The Mummy or Transformers?
God, no. Absolutely not. The last thing that I was a part of, I actually helped, like when they had the earthquake ride open. Have you
Yes.
seen? Is it still there?
Yes, they saw the
Is it
earthquake.
really?
Yes, San Francisco earthquake.
That was
Yes.
like the last thing that I was kind of a part of.
Yep.
They actually rode along inside. What they did was they opened it up,
Yep.
right? And this is actually, okay, I'm going to get to a funny story here. But this
All right.
is, okay. Literally my last weekend working there, it was the weekend that it opened up. And so we're going through on the tram, and what they do is the trainers would hop on to the tram, and they didn't give us a script. And we went into the earthquake building,
Right.
where the earthquake
The sound
thing happened,
sound stage, right?
quote unquote sound.
Yeah.
It wasn't a sound stage; it was built for
Right,
you know
for the
what I mean?
ride,
But
for the
they
ride.
pretend, you
Yeah.
know. And then they listened to us just improvise.
Okay.
Like, oh, there's a subway. Oh, look at the water. Look at the thing. And they created, like, from all of us tour guides, like what the script would be later on, like when people go through.
Ah, that's
No.
interesting. Okay.
What's interesting is that, so the weekend it opened, it was also the same weekend that they were having a cheerleader camp. Or some sort of cheerleading competition at like Universal Amphitheater or something like. It was just a crap load of cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Right. And because it was like new, the whole ride was new, they had like a line up to get into it. Like there was, you know, I want to say 13, 14 trams deep. And each time it takes 5 minutes for it to go through and then
Right.
cycle through. It has to, all the water has to drain out. Then the next tram comes in. It's another 5. So it was literally, we were sitting in the tram for about, I want to say like I want an hour. I was like at least an hour, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm going through my big, they give you all these time stalls where it's like, if you look over to my side of the tram, you're going to see the Court of Miracles where they filmed the Hunchback of Notre Dame and blah 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 blah. And so then it gets to be about 15, 20 minutes into my spiel of talking, right? And in my last car, they had a bunch of cheerleaders.
Okay.
And I start to hear, "Shut up, Tom. Shut up, Tom." And I literally said, "I'm going to be off the mic for the next few minutes." That was it. That was my last day.
Oh, dude.
I literally said, "You know what?
Wow.
That was a bit of a hassle, but
Ouch.
so that I haven't been back.
That stings.
I haven't been back.
You need to go. I mean, it's changed so much, and I know that's a painful memory for you. But it's such a fun place. We're gonna do Disney for next year, because apparently Karen and I we're now theme park junkies.
Well, look, I me. We have Disney passes.
Yeah.
It is. I can't imagine now doing it any other way. Like we're
Right.
literally like finding a way to do it every year now because you go and it's like when you go and it's only for one day, you're literally like, we got to get over here to that ride. Got to get that right. Got to get that right.
Right.
We go now and it's literally like, oh, there's this line, but we'll go into that, but then maybe we'll go see that show and
Exactly.
And you can experience it so much as a more kind of holistic kind of experience.
Yeah. So with the story, Karen and I were going on all the rides, but there was something that caught our attention, and that was the where you get your wands, right? So with Harry Potter, there's a store, and there's the whole choosing the wand and that.
Which,
whole
by
thing.
the way,
and it has a name, and I can't remember what it's called.
By the way, I think that would be the coolest thing. I would make sure I get a wand.
Well, so that was the first time. So it was like, so the first time we actually went in there. So, we made sure that, we got all the rides out of the way and we were going to close with that. So we get in line, and then ultimately we get into the main area before we get into the, to the actual building. And, they have a guy who affects this, wonderful accent, and he's talking about the wands, and the wands choose you. And he said, "Now, please."
Is he mentally handicapped?
No.
You sound like
That's
Is there
awful.
something wrong with him?
No, there's nothing wrong with him. That's
Is he touched in the head?
No, that's my poor.
Oh, sorry.
No, that is my poor example of trying to affect a British accent or
that was not
a medieval accent or whatever it was.
Right.
But anyway, so he
was he eating something?
No, no, he's not eating anything.
Did he have something in his mouth?
No. So what he was saying, he's now, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure to turn off your cellular devices. And I told you, like Karen and I, we just got these new phones.
Right.
So I'm, it's a new phone, and on the old phone, like to turn it off, it's on the left side, and for this one, I'm trying to turn on the volume, it's on the right side, and I hit this thing called Bixby. Bixby. So Bixby's kind of like Siri.
Oh.
Where it's like, hello, Siri.
Right.
And I hadn't set it up yet. And because Samsung, they're a Korean company.
Mm-hmm,
right? So I hit Bixby, and when they're telling us to turn off the phones, all of a sudden it's like, it's basically Bixby speaking in Korean.
Oh my gosh.
From the white guy in line was told to shut down the phone.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And people are laughing.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, it's off now. And then I'm in my pocket. I'm like trying to hit it, to turn it down again. And I hit Bixby again. So yes, that's my Harry Potter story.
Wow.
Yes, it was really hilarious.
You know how I would solve that situation? Mm-hmm. I'd buy an iPhone. I would buy an iPhone.
Yes.
And then you don't have those.
Well, the thing with the iPhone is the memory issue, right? So Karen had to, anytime that she needed to, I guess what do you do? It's not re-download. What is it when you
what do you mean?
Like an update? When you have to update your apps.
OS update.
Yeah. So anytime she updated Uber or one of those, she had to delete pictures. Because there was no memory, right? So so we ceased being an iPhone family from that standpoint. I still have the iPad and all that, and that's good.
I'm waiting in line for the X.
Oh, the X. Yeah.
I'm getting the X.
Yeah, you like the facial recognition thing?
And by the way, I've seen, even in in the presentation that they did, it does not work.
Oh.
Part of me is like wants to get it just to see how badly it does.
We can get like an XB, right? Wait till the next version comes out when they fix all the bugs.
Sure. A 0.2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if it works. Mm-hmm. So today is we do our news episode.
Yes.
Today is news. Last time we got a little sidetracked,
kind of like today, but that's okay.
We got a little sidetracked, but
That's
not
all
as
right.
bad. I think we got
Not
it
as
back
bad.
under control, so
Yes.
I'm okay with this. But yeah, we hopefully this one stays a bit more on track. You got some news for us?
Yeah, so this is from Market Watch, and this says case for Fed interest rate hike in December helped by latest inflation data.
Yeah.
So it says market sees greater than 50% chance of move after the August CPI.
Right.
Right? So consumer price index. So
Right.
basically what it means is there's a little bit of inflation in the forecast.
Right.
And, you know,
Well, the Fed is kind of saying that themselves. I mean, the Fed's kind of looking at the inflationary nature of things and kind of going, whenever they mention inflation, it's probably you can kind of forecast from it, well, then we're probably going to see some sort of uptick in rates.
yeah,
correct?
you want that, right? So
Yeah.
you want inflation because you want growth.
Yeah, of
Right.
course.
So, you know, you don't want runaway inflation.
Right.
You don't want to be, you know, Zimbabwe or Venezuela and, you know, have a beer cost, you know, $6,000, but you
I'd
definitely
still find a way to buy the beer, though.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's good. So it says the consumer price index rose 0.4% last month and the core rate increased 0.2. It says on a yearly basis, headline inflation is up 1.9% and the core rate remains steady at 1.7. Right?
So what do you think the impact on the housing market's going to be?
Well, so, you know, again, so inflation's good. You know, too much inflation where it becomes overheated,
Yeah.
that's where you need to temper that.
Right.
Right. So, you know, the Fed has a long-term target of 2%. Now, if we're at, you know, it says right here, if we're at 1.9,
We're kind of tipping now.
we're getting close to that.
Getting close.
Right. So we're,
Yeah.
you know, if we're getting close to our goal, then we have to make sure that we're not going to 3 or 4 or
Right,
5 or,
right.
you know, whatever. So, you know, I think, you know, it's gone from 30% chance of a raise to
right.
50. But I think, you know, if you look at the recent weeks, you've had 2 Category 4 hurricanes.
Yeah, right.
That, you know, South Florida and in Texas.
Right.
So, you know, I think that can absolutely
So
throw things off.
Do you think that the Fed is going to look at those things and kind of go, oh, maybe we should hold off a little bit? Or-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're meeting next week. So I think that's going to be part
And we got
of
Jose
that
coming up
discussion.
the East Coast as well.
Yeah, Jose's not really going to play. I mean,
Yeah, it's a
Jose is going to be great for surfers on the East Coast.
yeah.
And in
Well, it's
in the
category.
Caribbean.
They're thinking of category 1, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's still kicking off waves, and
Yeah.
they all like that. But it's not hitting land, so
Right.
that's the big thing.
Yeah, I mean, so what about interest rates? Do you think we're going to see an increase in mortgage rates, or do you think it's going to?
I mean, I think there's a couple things with interest rates. So number one, you have this, right? So
Yeah.
if they do raise it in December and it's unexpected, then yeah, it'll bump up in rates.
Yeah.
You know, North Korea certainly has helped recently to bring rates down.
Right.
Right. And, you know, their craziness is causing rates to, you know,
So what is the thinking there? Is that like there's instability, so we need to kind of keep things down so that
So it's a flight to safety. So if you own stocks and all of a sudden North Korea puts us in a war with China,
Right.
that's
Oh,
not
got
really
it.
going to play well for
Right.
the U.S. stock market or
Right.
the global stock market,
Right.
because that's going to affect the earnings for the next 3-5 years.
Yes.
Right. That's why. That's the stock market. That's all about it. It's all about earnings. It's all about
Yeah.
getting your money back, dividend, the whole thing. Right. So yeah, that's and they call it flight to safety because if you go away from stocks, you put all your money into bonds. What that does is it drives up prices on the bonds, and what happens is the yields go down, right?
Right.
So when yields go down, interest rates go down,
right.
right? So that's kind of the thinking from an economical standpoint.
Right.
Other things that could potentially increase rates would be, looking at the, if the Fed, right now, Congress, they have to decide on the debt ceiling, right? So if they raise the debt ceiling, they're issuing new bonds.
Yeah.
Again, you oversupply, you create this abundance of supply that can actually bring rates up, right? Because if you have a huge supply and the bond prices go down, yields go up,
Right.
right? So that's another aspect. So, right now
is
we're
the
kind
debt
of
ceiling issue resolved at this point, or is it still? It still needs to go through a
no,
vote,
it's still
or-
it's still in process.
Right.
I need to go back and kind of research that piece of it.
Yeah,
but
right.
It's really going around in October. It's kind of coming up now.
It's
so,
close.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next story, sir?
Yeah. So the next story is
The United States of Renters.
yeah. So a big Wall Street firm bets the American dream is dying.
Boy.
This is from the Washington Post.
Yeah.
And it says that a big Wall Street
Kind
firm.
of when I hear that, I keep on thinking of that the Saturday Night Live portrayal of Steve Bannon. You know, the the guy showing up as the Grim Reaper. You know what I mean? It's kind of I mean, come on.
Right.
Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you, but go ahead and
Yeah, so it says a big Wall Street firm is betting that America is likely to become the United States of renters. On Thursday, private equity behemoth Blackstone announced a major merger of its Invitation Homes with another company, Starwood Waypoint Homes. So really, if you look at it, when the deal's done, the combination company will own more than 82,000 homes.
That's kind of stunning.
It's massive.
It's a stunning amount of homes that they're going to own and they're going to be landlords of.
Yeah.
And
so, I mean, do you want to...
They said the majority is in Atlanta and Chicago, I think.
Chicago and Miami.
Miami, yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah. I mean, just think about it. I mean, you know, your landlord is going to be a private equity firm.
Right.
You know, you think their past due policy on rent is going to play well.
We've kind of chatted about this before
in
terms of Blackstone kind of doing this, but to see this sort of a big move is really kind of, I mean, their forecast is definitely pessimistic in terms of home ownership.
Well, yeah. So what they're betting against the the next generation, the millennials, right? They feel that they're saddled with student loan debt. They already are used to the sharing economy. They don't make long-term decisions, and they're just not going to be homeowners. But they're going to be renters forever.
But the interesting thing is I don't see it. I don't see it, and the reason that I'm not seeing it is I see too much. We have these lunch and learns that we've been doing lately about the freelancers coming in, and predominantly the people who are showing up to these lunch and learn seminars are the millennials. I think that it's not that they don't want to own; they're just trying to find the way to do it.
Yeah.
And when you're met with this lack of inventory that is out there, there's no houses to be bought. Housing starts aren't really going because builders, that was saying in this article that builders having trouble finding construction workers.
Correct,
who
right.
will do the work for the amount that they're going to pay them, basically. So new houses are not going to be built. I think it comes down to two big factors. Number one, the millennials finding the way to make it work. Okay, and by the way, they're like anybody. They're like anybody who wants to buy a house.
Right.
They're going to jump through hoops. The ones who are going to do it are going to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to find the way to jump through the hoops. Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's going to be a huge factor is the baby boomers and the empty nesters.
Right.
Finally letting go and saying, okay, it's time for us to downsize. It's time for us to get out of these houses and empty them out, maybe move in with their daughters and sons or whatever, or move to vacation land in Florida or the Jimmy Buffett's
granny flats, right?
Yeah,
so they can
exactly. The granny flats are exploding.
Yep.
Right. So I think that as soon as that inventory comes back on, we might see some sort of, I hope, some sort of equalization.
Yeah.
Where it's not so tipped over against them. Prices will start to kind of equalize a little bit more, or at least they won't appreciate to the crazy amount that they're appreciating right now. And it'll give those millennials a chance to jump on the train.
Right.
And I think that's, I think Blackstone has it right in the micro, but in the macro, they're wrong.
So you're thinking short term, yes, but not long term.
I think that the millennials are getting to the age where everybody, I think like the average age for getting into a house is usually around 30, 31. So millennials are around 27, 28.
Yeah. I mean, they're starting families. They're getting to the point where, their earnings are increasing.
Right.
Sure, they have student loans, but, if there is a demand for something, there's always a market for that, right? So there's always a company that is going to cater to that, right? So we had Unison on, right? So they do the home equity program where, they match with the down payment. So you have 10%, they'll match it with 10%.
Right.
And, that's a way where you really can, get into a home, but also get a little bit of assistance, right? So I think, our jobs as professionals is, really looking at all the moving parts, right? And really being consultants to our clients, because, if you just look at it and say, oh yeah, you're either pre-approved or you're not, and then just move on, then you may not get all of the picture, right? So, I had a couple that came to me, and she has a W-2, and they were looking at a potential duplex, right?
Right.
But there were a couple moving parts, right? So she had a 401k, and she might, she has access to a gift, but these are all things that didn't really show when she did the initial application.
Sure.
Right. So what is key is to dive deeper,
Right.
and really peel back the layers.
Yes.
And then give them options, and then let them go find, whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, even looking at my own experience, and even with my own life, we have our share of student debt, and
Right.
we have our share of, of things we have to jump over in order to get in, and we did it. You know what I mean? Because it was a priority for us. We really wanted to do it, and I think that this kind of, they keep on wanting to put the millennials into this kind of hole where it's like, oh, they only care about experiences. They only care about like going out to dinners and going out. I think that's a load of horseshit.
Yeah.
I really think that's not true. I think that, yes, I think that there was more of a, after the, we've talked about this, where after the whole crash, they saw things go sour,
Right.
and there's something about being at ground zero when that kind of stuff happens that can really affect you. But when you start to really rationalize and you go, wait a minute, I'm throwing my money away by renting. I'm literally giving my money to somebody. Somebody has to own those properties.
Right.
Somebody's gonna buy those properties. When those empty nesters move out, when those when the baby boomers finally get into their granny flats or wherever they're moving into, or
Right.
retirement homes, somebody's buying those. So why not them?
Right.
Why not them?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and, I mean, they're the most educated group.
Because they have the most
Population.
access to the education.
Right. So they're the most educated. And if you've noticed in working with them, they also, when they hear no, they find another avenue.
Well, absolutely. That's
right?
part of that kind of.
So no doesn't fall into their vocabulary.
Exactly. No, I can hack it. I can find some way to hack this whole situation.
Exactly.
I can make it work for me.
Yep.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So, if they hit a roadblock, they're resourceful, incredibly resourceful. And once they find that, then they share it with everybody.
Right.
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 So that's really the key is sure. Okay. Yeah. So in the short term, okay, they're stumbling upon a trend. But really, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think long term, I think there is a way, and it's really interesting. So Karen and I, we've been taking Gidget to summer camp, right, radiation therapy, and we met this really nice couple.
By the way, we should explain that for the first time listeners, Gidget is your dog. So,
yes, Gidget is our dog. So it's not our daughter.
That's what I was about to say.
But she really is our daughter.
Yeah, of course. I'm not saying that.
But yes, she's our little Pomeranian,
Yes.
and she's so sweet. So she had cancer, right? So we've been taking her to we took her to a place in Culver City, and we met this really nice couple, and this nice couple, they actually we bonded because they were taking their dog there,
right.
and they invited us over for dinner last night.
Nice,
right? Yeah. And it was really sweet, and it was really interesting to to be in their home because they had owned this home, so they're a little bit older, right?
Yeah.
Names will remain anonymous,
of course.
But they were in their 60s, and with their home. They had been in the home for 20 years without spending one dime on any remodeling.
Wow. Okay.
Anything.
Good.
But at a certain point, and fairly recently, they went in and they did a big remodel. Okay. Right. And what they did was they, put in amazing slate, and they redid the kitchen, and gorgeous. Absolutely.
Just updating it?
Pretty big extent, a renovation. Like they blew out walls.
Oh, they did blow out walls.
Oh yeah, they blew out walls and the whole thing, and they really customized it, right? And they made it their own.
By the way, and let me interrupt here really quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you in 1 second, but on one of our Alexa briefings just this last week, I did have a little conversation about these empty nesters and the people who've owned their homes for a long period of time.
I listened to it. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Exactly. Well, I'm sorry, but I mean, to caution against that kind of remodeling sometimes, because the people who are looking for those homes, they're looking for the same thing you looked for when you were buying the house. So, families, growing, good school district and all that. If you start blowing out walls, then it's not the same place.
But what was interesting is they also accounted for wheelchair access and made things accessible. So, clearly they were making it theirs.
Yeah.
they weren't planning on moving anywhere. Right. Like they decided that we're going to be there. Right. The whole time.
Yeah.
We don't care about, I'm sure they care about the resale value, but they're not, not thinking that. They're thinking about for them.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And I think that is
you
a
should
growing
enjoy,
trend.
you should enjoy the home you're in.
Absolutely.
I mean, absolutely. Nobody's saying that you should suffer.
Right.
Just, in order to keep the house exactly the way it was. I'm just saying that, it's something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think that is clearly a trend. I mean, more Americans, older Americans, they're customizing the home to fit them.
Right.
And that is their forever home.
Right.
Literally
forever home.
Literally forever home. And they're not thinking about, moving out in 7 years or any of those things. Now, if you customize the home and you're thinking about moving out in 5 years, well, you might want to make sure that you're putting in value added items, right?
Right.
But yeah, so that's a trend because they don't want to leave the home and then be out and trying to find a new home with new property tax rates and everything else, right?
Yeah,
higher mortgages and all that.
It's interesting. I'm going to pitch this here, and I'm going to see. And by the way, this is kind of frame. What is it? Free stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of coming up with this, and they kind of mentioned in this article about the whole idea of they don't buy cars anymore. They just call an Uber and they call first off, people own those cars, right? So somebody owns those cars and they're making money off of those cars.
Right.
But that being said, I'm wondering if there's a market out there for a sharing economy for homes. And I don't mean Airbnb. I'm talking about literally like two couples.
Yeah.
2 or 3 couples, whatever, coming in and buying a larger home and sharing the home. Because if they're okay with sharing the home,
right,
maybe doing something like if there's a duplex, buy it with another couple or something like that.
I mean, I've actually pitched that. I mean, the couple I was talking to, because on a loan, you've got to make sure that you have enough income,
right,
and that you have reduced liabilities in order to qualify. So, I even said that. I'm like, if you guys were looking at a fourplex, if you can't get around the DTI requirements, or you can't get around because this was FHA, and with FHA, there's a feasibility, right? So you can't have the rent cannot be less than the PITI.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
That's just a qualification rule for 3plexes and 4plexes.
Right.
But if they were able to put more down, or if they were able to get another couple to join them, like you have one couple in one of the units, then you have another couple in the other unit, and they get a fourplex, now you can qualify with that extra income. Right? For those things. So I think that absolutely is coming into play.
I think that a lot of folks who are, the quote unquote millennials, who are getting stumped by not being able to get into homes because of, not enough down, or not enough whatever, or not enough salary, or, whatever.
Yeah.
Think outside the box. And these are ideas that I think that if you're okay with, if you're going to live in an apartment anyway,
right,
because you can't get a home, why not own the apartment? Yeah,
absolutely. And it works the other way too, right? So even baby boomers, if you have, let's say you have you have a husband and wife, and one of them passes away, and they're in this big empty home.
Yeah.
All the kids have moved out, and you have to pay for the property tax, you pay for all the upkeep and everything else.
Right.
I mean, that could be overwhelming, and if you've got someone who, just wants to start over, what if they downsize, but they didn't downsize just to a condo or downsize to a smaller home? What if they downsize to a duplex or a 3plex or a 4plex, and they use those extra units for income, right? So they can qualify from the extra units, from a qualifying perspective, but then they're also able to supplement their retirement with this extra passive income that's coming in, right? So they might be in the position where they're like, oh my gosh, I had this home, I was able to sell it, and I bought this fourplex, and I've got a small mortgage on it, because I was able to put so much down, but now I can quit my job. I hate my job, I'm getting out, and now I'm going to be able to supplement my life. And you have to be comfortable though, right? So you have to be comfortable being a landlord, because you're renting that out.
You not only, if in the pitch that I'm making, you not only have to be comfortable being a landlord, but you also have to be comfortable with the people you're going into business with. And you have to make sure that any kind of agreements and any kind of, everybody knows their role, everybody knows what they're paying, everybody knows. It's a little bit of an extra hoop to go through, but if it can get you to be someone who actually has equity in a home,
right,
rather than paying it to a landlord. I mean, if you're going to be living in an 800 square foot apartment anyway, why not own it?
Right.
Why not be a part owner of it? And then if you get a fourplex, let's say you get in with another couple, let's say, and you take unit number 1 and they take unit number 2, and then you've got units 3 and 4 generating income.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't even have to rent that out full time. You could Airbnb it. You can,
absolutely.
Use it as a kind of a guest apartment, shared guest apartment with people coming in from out of town.
Totally.
You can make it work. You can absolutely make it work. And I think this is the generation that's going to, really take advantage of all the things that you can do. Right. Because they're incredibly resourceful.
When you look at the kind of, and by the way, please, anybody who's listening to this, if I'm stereotyping, please do not, I don't mean it in that way at all. But in general, you look at what the millennials have created over the past 10 years or whatever. Right. And it's usually this kind of artisanal, like they know how to make coffee better than anybody. They know how to make pie better than, I mean, they find these things that they're experts at, right? That they just love more than anything. Right. And I think you're going to see the same thing happening with real estate. You're going to find folks who are going to get so invested in the process of real estate and investing in real estate, and all these things go out the window. All these kind of mass generalizations go out the window because they do see the value of doing it right. They see the value of getting out there, investing, and doing it the right way. Right. And whenever I hear this kind of harbinger of doom with Blackstone, and this article, I just take it with a grain of salt because I think it's a load of bullshit. I just do. I mean,
there'll be a sect that they'll run forever and they don't get into it.
Of course, but that's people.
Correct.
I know people who are like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Lawrence Yun, who is the National Association of Realtors president, I believe, that's what it says here. He thinks that, with where it's stuck right now on the home ownership rate at 50%, which is really low historically.
But I think that's
he thinks it's temporary.
But hold on a second. I think that's a load of bullshit too.
What?
I think that figure is actually a false narrative. I think that home ownership is so low because there's so little out there to buy.
That's true too.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's so little inventory out there that basically that is to be bought. Right. It makes it difficult to own. Yeah. So I think that that's a false narrative.
Yeah. No, it's true.
And it sure looks like, and that shows that like they're trying to tell a certain story.
Right.
And yeah, you can definitely see it that way. But if you're out there out in the field, if you're out there in the trenches like I am, right, and that, look, my listing that I just had, we just literally had 4 offers on the house. You know what I mean? And it was constant multiples. People are, if there's a place out there that is nice and marketed right, people are jumping. People want there's so little out there.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a home for every single person who wanted to buy a home, it would definitely be a lot higher than 50%.
Absolutely.
And at the beginning of the season, I saw it where there was this mad rush in February and March where you had all of these, potential buyers that just rushed into the market and they were first-time home buyers. And by July and August, some of them got out because they were sick of losing. Yeah. Right. So they were pre-approved for 500, but then things would go into multiple counters and they got bought out.
Well, and let me put this is another thing to put things in maybe perspective, but it's just my little. How I see it and what my perspective is, 3 of the 4 offers were millennials.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
The ones that got it were not, but that's another thing entirely. But 3 of the 4.
Yeah, and I mean, you pointed something out which I think makes a lot of sense. You know, if you're looking at buying a home, first of all, stay in the 75% range, right? Don't start making offers at your max limit, because you're going to lose every single time. And okay, maybe you don't lose every single time, but at least you've got a lot better shot, and you're going to be a lot more, you're going to be more engaged in the process, and you're going to enjoy it more because you have room, right? That's really the key.
Yeah. All right. So next, we're talking about no appraisal mortgages.
Yeah.
That's a new thing.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Someone listened to our episode with Mike Baz and and Cindy Nasser.
Cindy Nasser, yeah.
Right, from PCV Mercor. And, they shared with us, the average age of an appraiser is 58 years old.
58 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's not sustainable.
That's right. And, the lenders.
It's funny to hear that and hear this so soon after that.
Yeah.
That tells me
Yep.
that this is a topic that they're thinking a lot about.
Oh, yeah.
This is something that is a crisis almost.
And what's really important to think about is an appraisal. Yes, the client buys it, right? The buyer pays for the appraisal, but most buyers really don't care what is in that particular appraisal. Like, they'll go through it, they'll read it, it's their home and everything else.
Sure.
It's good to get the value. They just want the home. They just want the deal to close. So
even worse,
it's really designed. It's really for us. It's for the lender.
100%.
It is a document that proves the value of the home. So if Fannie and Freddie, this is it says Fannie Mae joins Freddie in allowing appraisal-free purchase mortgages. So what they're doing is the lenders are saying, you know what? The inspection waiver, where you use the computer models and you look at comps and all those things, is good enough from a valuation standpoint, where we don't have to send somebody out in the field.
Back a little bit. Even worse than people not wanting to, not caring or about it. Okay, I think that there's an element of that is 100% true.
Yeah. But
not only that, it's like, okay, let's say I come in and we have a little bit of a bidding war, right? And it goes from, $475 to $490, right?
Okay.
And so then the guy comes out to appraise the house, and it comes and he goes, yeah, it's $485, right? Mm-hmm. So now we've got $5,000 that now creates a crisis in the whole negotiation.
Yep.
How are we going to deal with this? Mm-hmm. Either the buyer has to come up with the $5,000,
right? Or
we find some way to split the baby.
Yep.
But every single time that you create pressure and crisis inside of a negotiation, you got to. We shouldn't be making more of these situations.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally get it. Like if a lender is like, if they're going out there and they're pricing a property and it's coming in like 20 to 30% less, right? Than what,
right.
I'm like, okay, I get it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to get burned and all that. But if we're really talking about that kind of, and then it becomes so subjective. It becomes like, well, yeah, that's what you think it is.
Right.
The market is telling us something different. We argued with 3 other people and we thought that it was worth that. So who gives a crap what you think it is?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So any kind of, it boggles my mind that with appraisals, we still have 30-day escrows. It boggles my mind that, now I totally get because being out there and getting, buying homes, selling homes, I understand the concept of we need a good period of time for investigations to make sure that the home is in a good state, that, there's nothing, their walls aren't crumbling or there's no whatever.
Right.
But why on earth does it take another 20 days? Why on earth does it take 20 more days every single day that there's something, that is on the end of that creates more issues? There's just anything can go wrong at that point.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can just go into a store and just buy something. Why does it take so damn long? And appraisals is a big part of this. Yeah. Getting an appraiser out here for something that we've already come to an agreement what we think the price is, right? It's just putting so much extra tension on a negotiation and a transaction that I think is just so, it's not worth what you get in return.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that has to do.
Do you think
with,
it's really worth $10,000?
Oh, in terms of the the back and forth of the 10,000? No, it's better. Just
do you
split
really
the
think
difference.
it's worth? I mean, seriously. Well,
Yeah.
no, but I'm saying, do you think that for lenders, to create that kind of like situation, is it? I mean, for 10 grand, in probably in a year, it's going to be worth 30 more.
Sure.
Am I crazy? Am I missing something?
No, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, when you look at an appraisal, the report comes in and there's always this tension, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, do we get the value? Do we get the value? What does it say? Is it as is, or is it subject to where you have to do repairs and all these different things? And, it's interesting. I mean, I would say at the beginning of the year, there were more undervalued appraisals to the actual sales price.
Yeah.
Recently, the appraisals that I'm getting are coming in at value or possibly even higher.
Good.
Right?
Well, that's
And
a good thing.
Well, what's happening is the comps are finally, the sales comps
Are starting to
catching
match.
up.
Yeah.
They're catching up with the frenzy.
Right.
So if you have an overheating market and you don't have the historical data, because they look back 6 months.
Sure.
Right? So if you don't have the historical data, then it's going to come in lower than what you're pricing it for.
Right.
Right? But if you've had that where everything's heated up and it's gotten to that point where things are stabilizing, then you're actually going to get some better numbers.
Right.
Right. But ultimately the lender, they want to make sure that, that they've had a professional that's come out there and there is documentation that shows that home is worth this and that someone has actually physically been to the property and they do the cost approach where they figure out what the cost is to rebuild that particular property.
Yeah.
Right. Or they do the sales approach, where they look at it from
Comparable
the standpoint
sales.
of comps in the particular area. Right.
Right.
And, they do those things because they want to make sure that the collateral, their investment is protected.
I look, there's no doubting that I understand the concept of, like I said, where it's 10, 30%, whatever difference.
Yep.
Like where a guy comes out and goes, why is it selling for, you know what I mean? Like there's something going on here, right? You don't want fraud. You don't want like some sort of crazy thing happening that's doesn't make any sense. But where where it's just so like less than 3% off or like less than, shut the fuck up. Like seriously, don't, like what the hell are you making a problem for?
Right.
I don't, and it makes no sense to me that we literally can't, wait, I can go on Amazon right now, pick something and get it the next day.
Correct.
And we still take 30 days in order to do something.
Yeah.
And that's like short. That's like short.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And that's even then we're like, I don't know if we can do it. I don't know if we can do it.
That's an efficient escrow, but it's not just the appraisal. I mean, it's also, you have someone who is going to give you lots and lots and lots of money for that particular loan, and there's standards,
but
right?
We're talking about a gradational, little, small that in appreciation would take care of in like the next year.
Right.
It makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, options. So let's say you get the appraisal and it comes in and it's low. Right. Yeah. And, you feel on both sides that, wow, the appraisal really missed the mark. Yeah. There are remedies, right?
Yeah.
There are. And I've done it.
There are. I'm not saying that they're not. It's not.
But it's facts.
But it's another tension. It's another,
yeah, I know.
Stupid ass.
It's part. It's
thing
before your stress kicks in, man. So it's part of the deal, So, and you have to back it up with facts. I mean,
you're taking the lender's line. You're taking the lender's line.
It's not taking the lender's line per se. It's
see his colors, shining through.
I mean, okay. So early in my career, I thought because of the relationship, that person, they deserve to get a loan because they're a nice person and,
Ron, we're not talking about whether or not the person is a nice guy.
I get it. But I would look at an appraisal and I'm like, the appraiser doesn't know what they're talking about. They're inexperienced. This is crap. We need to go ahead and send an email saying, they're a bunch of idiots.
Yeah.
And then I got to really know what they do and what the whole process is like. And and here's the thing about appraisers, right? So, Mike was talking about it. They're kind of an honorary bunch, right? Yeah. So a lot of them are musicians.
Yes.
And they're very engineering, numbers driven type people. And that's their craft, right? That's their handiwork. So if you tell them it's crap, they're not going to really want to work with you.
No, and by the way, I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah.
I'm actually not saying that. What I'm saying is, and I think this is probably a more precise way to say what I'm trying to say, is that what I would like to see is a more of a threshold than a number we're trying to hit.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like,
it makes sense.
There should be an over and under.
And here's the other thing. I mean, I've had appraisals where, they came in at value, and then my underwriting team said, you know what, we ran our own simulation over here.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's not just what the underwriters or what the appraiser says goes.
Right.
They have actually had to back up what was, so the appraisal was done. It was sent in. And the underwriter, in this particular property, it was a property in Venice. And the underwriter said, wait a second, how is this home appraising for 2.1? It's 1,300 square feet. And there's an extra room in the back and all this stuff, but I'm looking at the comps in the area, and 1,300 square feet is really going for like 1.5, right? So you really need to justify these comps. And it turns out that appraiser was then able to say, look, there's a view. If you look at, everything's been redone, everything's brand new, remodel, that extra space in the back, it's really blown out, and just like all these things. But they had to justify that. So when they turn in that number, it's not in stone, right?
Right.
And if they turn in a number just to say, okay, fine, if it's 840 is the purchase price, I'm just going to turn in 840. The underwriter's going to check it, and they're going to run it against their own systems, similar to what they're using here with the property inspection waiver. Right. And those systems may show that, all right, so it's now that appraiser, they valued that particular home.
Sure. I
think
think
they've had their hands slapped so many times.
I get it.
They don't like going back.
Well, and by the way, during the crash, the appraisers got a ration of shit because they were literally, because they were kind of playing the realtor's game. It's like, hey, we needed to come in at this, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, look at this, it comes in at that,
right?
And we ended up with this situation we got into. I'm not by any means demeaning appraisers or what they do and the value of what they do. Right. I'm just saying that to just literally be, they're literally trying to hit a point on a spectrum base, or not spectrum, but on a line. Right. And if they don't hit that point, and there's no kind of like, look, there's a little gray on each side of it. So let's just call it a day. Right. You give them the goddamn loan. Okay. Or we don't give them the goddamn loan, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like there should be some sort of space on each side, rather than like, all right, you didn't hit it. Right. So now we have to go to the drawing board. Well, here's the thing. So thinking about it from another perspective. So, let's say you're putting 40% down. Yeah. Right. And the lender requires 20% down. Yeah. And it comes in at, the purchase price is $800,000 and it comes in at $780,000. Yeah. Right. So there's a $20,000 delta. Right. You don't have to put that $20,000 in. Well, yeah, because your down is so significant. Because your down's so significant. Right. But that's not everybody, Ron. I agree. But if the threshold is based on the appraised value, that's the number they're using. Right. That is based on that particular lender. But the threshold is based on what you can put down. So that's even more. That almost feels to me almost unfair. I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If I can get a loan for 3% down, if I'm an FHA or whatever, right? 3.5 FHA, 3.5 FHA, whatever, and I'm not allowed that. Basically, I have to hit it dead on, or it has to be more than in order to get that house. Exactly. So now because I'm not rich, I don't get the same benefits of other people. I mean, that's part of the thing, man. Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, and that's a reason why a lot of agents don't work with FHA. Well, not just really FHA, but they will go with a 40% down versus a 20% down. Well, you mean on the listing side? On the listing side. Oh, yeah. Well, yes, because there's room. We're not talking about that. Because there's room. I'm going to of course, take the most secure, deal, of course. Yeah, and if the property is sitting there, then the agent, the seller and the listing agent, they could, negotiate down, right? Because they want to make it work, right? They came in and they got excited because they thought that
this is going to sell for more than what it's worth, and we're going to go ahead because they're growing whatever, and they got caught, right? And the actual reality is, no, it's not worth $850. It's actually worth $825.
Right. Yes.
Right.
I mean, I think, and like I said, threshold. Mm-hmm. I'm more talking about the folks who are at what did you say? 850, 840? What did you say? Between 825 and what?
Yeah. So
I'm saying if it was 835 versus 840, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
All right, we're $5,000, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Shut the hell up.
I mean,
just give them the damn loan.
Right. But that's also part of, I mean, that's
I'm just
it's
saying.
exact.
But for me,
yeah,
I'm going back to the drawing board again, and now now the transaction is in crisis again.
Right. So that's why it's important to have bumpers and to have the flexibility.
Of
like
course.
if you're using every single solitary penny and that is all you have, and
but people fight for all sorts of reasons. People just don't want to give.
Yeah.
That's a negotiation.
That's part of it too.
They don't want to give. Why would I give you $5,000 extra more? Or why would I give you $2,000 more?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
And so you have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Take it back to guaranteed rate and tell him Tom Clary wants to change everything. I want to change the way business is done.
Yes.
God damn it.
Yes. But I mean, I think this is a step in that direction, right? If it's an appraisal-free mortgage.
I was happy to hear this. I think that's actually a fantastic step in the right direction, and like they said, speed things up.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I haven't done one yet.
Yeah.
But, the day I do,
and
I
by the
will
way,
report back and tell you what it's all about.
I was going to ask you was...
Yeah. And they've been doing this for refis for like a year and a half already.
Right. But what I was going to ask you, though, about this is that what's that low... It's the low... is it the loan to value? It's a low loan to value that they're doing these on. So what is that? What's the number? Do you know?
Oh gosh!
Like what is
on
magically
some
part
low LTV loans?
Yeah, what's the magical? Is there any? I don't think there is a
magical
magical number on it. Probably.
Let's see what it says.
It could be different for each program.
What is it saying here? You can talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, no, it's not there, Ron.
No, I don't see it.
I was just looking for your experience, if you knew.
Yeah, I mean, so if it says allows waiver on some low LTV loans, so that would mean that.
It's not every loan that we can do this on.
It probably wouldn't be those ones that are right on that border.
Oh, hell no.
Right? So if it's a jumbo and it's 20% down and that's what's required, probably can't do it there.
My guess is
probably can't do it, and FHA isn't on here, right? So
my guess is that this is probably 40% or more down.
Yeah.
It's my bet.
Yeah. I mean, I can get I can
and it makes sense for those.
I can report back because I have all the guidelines from my company, but I don't have it with me at this very moment. Yeah, but I can.
Did the dog eat your homework?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I think it is something that.
Right.
Yeah. So it allows it to move forward.
So wrapping up, we're kind of pulling into the
we're gonna do the house canary.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go to that because I found that kind of interesting.
Yeah, this was interesting, right? So this is all about where. Realtors, once they get the client into the home, now they can turn around and sell it.
Yeah, right. We're always looking to the next sale, man.
Right. So they throw the big party. They get the new buyer in there, and they court all the friends, and then they have a big house party for the neighbors, and they're like, all right, you know what? They want to sell. God. They just moved in and now they're ready to sell.
Honestly, the thing that makes me just want to bury my head in the sand, these we're going to throw you a housewarming party. Isn't that so generous of us?
Yeah.
And we're literally just, grabbing everybody's information. And by the way, I don't mean we. We includes me, and I'll tell you I would never do this.
Okay.
But it's literally about, getting everyone's information and getting them into a pipe.
Sure.
And making sure that all your friends get the new newsletter from Tom Clary, Realtor.
Yeah. So anyways, this story. So it says House Canary raises $31 million to value residential real estate. And so it's not just, replacing appraisers or anything like that. What it's actually doing is it actually says, what if you could accurately predict the resale value of a home before buying it? So this company is creating the model and the algorithms to actually predict what it would be if you were to sell that home 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So before you actually purchase the home.
There's some real Minority Report shit happening here. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like Are you kidding me? I mean, I mean, like, you're gonna protect the future, so I'm not gonna buy a house because I think that in 10 years it's not gonna be like I could walk into the house and love it and be like, this is my dream home.
Right.
This is look, I'm here. This is everything that I've ever wanted and wished for when I was, a child and thinking about my family and 2.5 kids. And oh, wait a minute, what is it going to be in 10 years? Oh, well,
right.
Next.
Right.
Move on to the next one.
We predicted that there was a massive earthquake and everybody died in this home 10 years from now.
Exactly.
That'd be kind of freaky. Thinking about that. I don't know. I mean, there's some big investors. I mean, so they talk about Eric Schmidt. So he's the CEO of Google.
Yeah.
Or president of Google. Whatever
Sure.
it is. Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Right. So good old Kobe. And they're
I never thought that like Kobe's strong point was AI. But I guess
I mean that's his next
I guess
life.
his next move.
He's a big investor now.
I guess
he's got a lot of money.
Like Magic Johnson,
Yeah.
huge investor in all sorts of different
Absolutely.
business. So why not AI? Michael Jordan doesn't he do a lot of stuff too? I'm assuming.
Sure. I mean, he just keeps living off of the Nike brand.
I guess.
I think he just keeps buying stuff for himself.
He just keeps on buying.
I don't know. It's funny.
Air Jordans.
Jordan. So I'm from Chicago originally,
Yeah.
and huge Bulls fan, and Cubs and Bears and that whole thing. And Michael, I remember he had a house. So I grew up in Hilton Head, right?
Yeah.
He had a house, one plantation over, right? So, in Hilton Head, they call them plantations, nothing to do with cotton or anything like that.
Okay.
But it's just a community, right? So he
Okay.
lived one community over. And I remember, I had some friends that actually went over and they stole his nameplate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. And it had his number too, right?
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
21, 23.
23,
right? So
yeah.
Jordan, 23.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think I saw him one time. I may have shook his hand or anything. He's a nice guy,
Sure.
but I've heard other.
So you did meet him?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. He played golf at Long Cove Country Club and that type of thing. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. But
we're getting into this weird kind of technological gray space.
Yeah.
Where, at what point do you go, well, but I like the house? You know what I mean? I mean, at some point do you go, yeah, I really like it. It's, is there any kind of, I guess there's no ethical dilemma here, but I guess at some point you're kind of, if you're dictating your own actions by what some computer algorithm is saying, it's sort of frightening.
Well, I think it depends, right? So if you're an investor, I think this is awesome.
Oh, totally. As an investor, that's a different story
And if
completely.
you are a home investor and you have access to this, and that's
Sure.
really their audience, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's. I wouldn't say this is going to be more. It's not going to really filter into the residential buyer to live there as a home.
Sure.
So I think this is going to be more for investors, and I think it also, it may be something that lenders can use.
Well,
right?
so that
could
actually
be
makes more
another,
sense.
or appraisers or
Yeah.
whoever's in the equation,
Right.
Because
But
there's
wait a minute,
so
though.
much data.
But hold on a second now.
Yeah.
What if I'm a lender
Okay.
and I start using this and I start running regular folks buying homes against it? And I find out that in 10 years, this house could be worth less, or it's not going to be. Maybe that could affect whether or not I approve your loan or not.
Possibly.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of frightening.
That's a little weird.
That's not cool.
Nope.
That's not right.
Right. So I think it's I think it's definitely
Kobe, what are you
interesting.
doing to us?
Kobe's
Seriously, Kobe, I thought you were
Kobe's-
really cool. I liked watching him play basketball, for God's sake, but
Now he's kicking us out of homes.
now you're telling me whether or not I can buy a home or not?
Yeah. I think I don't know.
Am I crazy here? I mean, it's not insane to think that, though,
yeah,
right?
That could potentially filter into it.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's not predicting what that home is worth now.
Sure.
It's
Right.
into the future.
Right.
So, where I see the greatest application would be investors.
Well, and by the way, I totally get that as a tool, but I'm more concerned about and what's fascinating is that I had heard a story, and this could, by the way, could be completely what's the word, not anecdotal, but apocryphal. Is that what it is? I can't remember.
Oh, now you're using big fancy
I don't
words.
know. Please forgive me, guys, out there in podcast land if I've used the wrong word. But that there's an algorithm that can actually tell whether a song is going to be a hit song.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Right? And so you will literally hear songs that are just almost all the same.
Right.
Because everybody wants a hit song.
Right. It has 3 chords and
There's
this
no-
beat and a bridge.
Right.
And, yep.
So if that's what's happening, then that could really affect the real estate market, period. If lenders start using this kind of thing, maybe I'm extrapolating out too far here, but why not? Why wouldn't they use this? If I'm a lender and I hear that something is not going to be worth what I think it's going to be worth in 10 years or whatever,
Right.
I'm going to turn that loan down, or I'm going to, I can shape the way that the whole real estate market looks.
Yeah, and I mean, so another aspect of this, right? We're going back to the appraisals. Is on an appraisal, they will actually talk about market trends.
Yeah, right,
So
right.
they will report if a market is declining,
Right.
or if it is stable, or if it's increasing, or the quality of that particular area. All those-
Right.
So those things are all factored in.
Yeah, but
there.
it's a human being doing it that can actually
Correct.
look around and go, oh, wait a minute, they're building a big building there and where there was a gorgeous, scenery or something. You know what I mean? Like they can actually go, wait a minute, they're about to screw things up here. While it's a computer and, unfortunately,
Yeah.
there's an over-reliance, I think, when computers get involved in the whole process.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
people go, oh, well, computer can't be wrong.
Well, it's tying things in, right? So, the first story we were talking about millennials, right?
Yeah.
So it's tying in, controlling the variables.
Yeah, right.
As much as you can.
Yeah.
So if there's a company that is going to provide this data, I wouldn't say you just go with what they say.
Yeah.
But I think it is something you can bounce off.
So, all right, well, moving on. Okay. Well, I think that's about it for today, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think we're done. All right. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave them for us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Clarified Realty Podcast, all one word. If you have any questions about real estate or you're looking for someone to help you buy or sell a home, remember, I'm actually a licensed real estate agent. I'd love to help you out, so please email me directly at tom@clarifiedrealty.com or give me a call at 818-335-7662. Don't be shy. Come on, guys. Give me a ring. For more exclusive bonus content and advice between episodes, please check out our website, www.clarifiedrealty.com. Also on our homepage, you'll find links to helpful buyer and seller guides that can give you some great information for starting your home buying or home seller process. So definitely check those out. Here's a new thing. We actually have an Alexa skill. So search the Alexa store for the Clarified Realty Podcast, add our skill to your daily briefing, and get a dose of real estate news and tips every day of the year. Definitely give it a try. It's pretty cool. I'm on Snapchat, Twitter, and Instagram as well. My handle for all 3 of those are @ClarifiedRealty. Please leave feedback and reviews on iTunes or in the comment section on our page. Together, we're stronger. So if you have any questions or ways that we can make this podcast better, please let us know. My amazing theme song, Hey Now, is from the band Wolf. That's Wolf with 2 Fs. And please go check them out and like them on SoundCloud. They rock so freaking hard, they know exactly how much your ears are going to bleed 10 years in the future. They're sort of like Minority Report, except with way more facial hair. And just a little disclaimer, I'm licensed by the California Bureau of Real Estate. My license number is 01715353. Ron's is?
Guaranteed rate, NMLS 2611, NMLS ID 558706, California.
The advice we give is only for properties located in the state of California. For all other states, please contact your local real estate agent or real estate professional. Well, that's about it, Ron. You all good?
Oh, yes, sir.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. And remember, the greatest thing you can ever do is make someone feel at home. Take care, and we'll see you next week.